Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Last time we talked about how to get people to like you. Today I'd like to shift this focus into how to get people to think like you. So it's about how to get people, how to win people to your way of thinking. And so we're going to discuss the principles that are associated with that. It will be very interesting for you guys to see some ways that Dale Carnegie says or recommends others to win the minds of other people so that others think like you. And the first one is to avoid arguments, because he says that arguments unfortunately will not lead you anywhere. They will only make things worse than they really are, because whether you win or you lose, because you made the other person feel inferior and you will not get their goodwill. You want to welcome their disagreement as it's an opportunity to be corrected and improve. So instead of being defensive, you want to listen to the other person, admit your errors, being honest, thank your opponents as they wanted to help you by correcting you. Avoid action, because we tend to act with our instinct, our first reaction against other people is usually negative, and we throw a temper on them, and that will only make things worse. It will make the other person try to justify themselves and be defensive, and then you'll feel resentful afterwards. So don't be defensive. Listen to the other person, admit your errors, thank your opponents as they wanted to help you. Avoid action, so just have some patience and wait, and postpone meeting with other people to gather all the facts. So instead of attacking them head on, just wait. Tell them, let's consider all the facts, let's come prepared, and then discuss. When we both have the facts, when we both have our points down, why do we think a certain way, then we can discuss, rather than doing it right away. And that extra time allows you to kind of gain some distance, it allows you to settle down a little bit and not get aggressive right away. So you can also have time to think about, is me trying to win gonna make things better? Will my reaction make this situation worse? Will my reaction make others think or estimate highly of me? Will I win or will I lose? And what price will I pay if I win? Will the disagreement end if I be quiet about it? And can they potentially be right? And even if I'm right, and even if I win, will it be any good? Will I get the other person's goodwill? So that's something to consider, is to really avoid arguments right away, but instead listen to the other person. Don't attack him, don't battle him, listen to him, gather all the facts, and then discuss in an appropriate manner with the other person, considering both of you guys' points, considering all the facts after you have gathered them. But avoid arguing, because it will make the other person try to defend themselves and will only make the situation worse. So that's the first way to kind of get the other person to think like you, is don't argue. The second one is to respect people even if they don't deserve it. So most people don't want to change their mind because they have prejudices and cling to their biases or to their beliefs so strongly, and when they're challenged, their self-esteem is put at stake. We like to continue to believe what is true, or what we like to continue to believe what we think is true, and resent when we're put wrong. So we don't like being put wrong, but you want to understand another person's perspective or point of view and what it means to the other person. You can't drive a person into agreement by arguing with them, but saying I may be wrong, let's examine the facts, is a good idea. Avoiding having a fixed opinion, as nobody knows everything, and avoid doing having a fixed opinion, like undoubtably or certainly. Instead say it appears to be at present, and don't contradict the absurdity, even if it is, of others' opinions or beliefs. but instead recognize that the other person may be correct in another circumstance, but just not in this one, or he may be right in the circumstance. So you want to disagree respectfully or admit your mistakes or errors. And you want to ask questions to get the truth of the issue out. Don't tell the other person he's wrong, but ask him, why does he think this way? Ask him to explain his points. Gather your own points as well. Listen to that other person. Make sure you understand his perspective. Don't attack him, right? Don't battle him. Don't try to prove him wrong, but recognize that you may be wrong potentially. He may have all the facts right, and you may be wrong. So recognizing that is extremely important. The third principle to get others to think like you, or to change the mindset of others, is to admit it. Admit if you're wrong and do it empathically. And Dale Carnegie gives a story of a dog in a park with a leash and a muzzle, and how the dog ran to a police officer who scolded him as it was against the law for the dog to be on a leash and having a muzzle. The dog didn't like the leash and muzzle, so he took him out without one and ran to the same police officer, but instead of waiting for the officer to reprimand him, he said he's guilty and he had no excuses, and how he was caught red-handed, and he kept criticizing, pounding himself, and the police officer responded softly that Carnegie is overreacting. After he said it, Carnegie was like, the dog may eat a squirrel, blah, 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 but then he said he's overreacting, even though that's what the same police officer told him before. But now, after scolding himself, criticizing himself, the police officer softened extremely and said he's overreacting, and he should take the dog to the other side of the hill where he could not see him. Like, it's okay, don't worry about it. So that self-criticism that Carnegie did actually gave the police officer a feeling of importance, and to nourish his self-esteem, he became forgiving. So be the other person and rebuke yourself before he or she has the chance to do so. And others are less likely to condemn you if you do that. It is easier to accept self-criticism and criticize yourself than to hear others do it after that. And you may need to swallow your pride or ego and admit errors, as fighting and trying to win may not get you what you want. Sometimes it's better to yield than to fight and try to win. So approach people acknowledging your mistakes, and as well as have a plan on how to improve next time so that you don't make those same mistakes. And the fourth principle of how to get people to change their mind, to think like you do, is to be friendly when you want to make your point. Don't lose your temper, as I already mentioned, or on someone, or approach another person aggressively with a bad or angry tone, because they will be defensive and be aggressive too, because they will try to defend themselves and they will try to prove you wrong because they want to be right. Remember, we can never get someone to agree with us with all the logic that we may have, with all the reasoning, if the other person has negative emotions or attitudes towards us. So we have to we want to essentially convert them to a friend. If they're an enemy, they're not going to do what you want. So being friendly to someone can convert them to your friend, and can even turn enemies into friends. It's actually very powerful. So you want to offer honest compliments before asking for what is it that you want. Have a friendly chat. Give a person compliments. Have a friendly chit chat about how his day was. Be friendly, be nice, be polite, be kind to the other person, and only then ask him that request that you want, or try to prove your point, etc. They're going to be much more friendly to you. Even enemies will become your friends if you actually start in a friendly tone. Just like you talk to your friends, right? Talk in a soft and calm tone. You want to have a softening tone. Offer helpful information like facts if you want to prove that you are right. Don't do it aggressively. Don't try to win. Don't argue. Just show him your facts and why you think that they are true, and make sure and let the other person know that you want to see why he thinks a certain way, so that he gathers his facts as well. You both have your facts on the table, and you can then analyze them and come to an agreement, come to some sort of agreement. And Abraham Lincoln said, "A drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gold." And this nicely summarizes this fourth principle. And business executives too can shift their strikers' perspectives if, instead of being dominant and trying to shut them up or quieten them, they listen and consider their perspectives and address their issues.